This is the Danbury and New Milford Hospital LPNs and Techs and Therapists wage analysis. We received information from hospital administration about the wages and years of service for each and every tech and therapist at the hospital. Most people assume that there's a combination of skill set, years of experience, and quality of work which determines their pay. What you would expect to see if that were the case is that as people's years of service increased, their rate of pay also increased. And you would see something of a steady line, save for some exceptions of people with former experience or certification. If you looked at the nurses' rates of pay, you would find exactly this graph. Unfortunately, what we found when we looked at the data that the hospital provided was there was very little that makes sense. There are 5 pay grades that the hospital uses to categorize their 47 different job titles in the LPN Tech Therapist Bargaining Unit. The hospital uses codes to define these pay ranges: HO6N, HO7N, HO8N, HO9N, and H10N. If you took everyone's years of service and plotted them out on a graph where years of service was along the bottom and rate of pay was along the side, you would have a very messy graph. Each person is indicated by a dot. This dot, for instance, indicates a tech who has worked at the network for 16 years and makes $32.88. It's not too surprising to find that the wage scales are so messy because the LPN and tech group consists of many different professions and modalities, all which have different ranges. If you pulled out just one of the pay ranges, you would expect to see a more steady line. For example, this is hospital pay code HO8N. This includes 10 different job titles, and all of those job titles have the same wage range. There doesn't seem to be much sense to this graph either. There is still no steady line of pay over years of service. Perhaps that's because we're still looking at 10 different job categories. When you pull out wages for just one job category, respiratory therapist 3, you should have people with similar experience and certifications. But when we look at this single job category, what actually becomes apparent is how much inequity is in our current pay system. Looking at respiratory therapist 3, you find this therapist who has been at the hospital for 9 years and makes $27.46, while another respiratory therapist 3 has been at the hospital only 5 years and is making $37.80. When you look at surgical techs, you see a similar graph. Dots all over the place. This surgical tech has been at the hospital for 9 years and makes $25.59, while this surgical tech has been at the hospital for 6 years and makes $30.30. At the hospital, there are radiological techs, radiological tech 2, and radiological tech 3. When you look at the radiological tech 3s, you can see these two rad techs have the same job title, but one has been at the hospital for 14 years and the other for 8. The one who's been at the hospital for 14 years makes $28.69, while the one who's been at the hospital for 8 years makes $34.94. In nearly every category, we find that the pattern persists. When we look at ultrasound, you have these techs: 12 years, $36 an hour; 5 years, $44 an hour. Echo, 4 years, $40 an hour; 5 years, $32 an hour. CAT scan, 9 years, $31 an hour; only 2 years, $35.70. MRI, 10 years experience, $30 an hour; 5 years experience, $43 an hour. We are proposing something different. We are proposing an alternative to this system. Our proposal is very similar to the system which has worked for the RNs at our two hospitals for generations. Our proposal would have a yearly increase for the cost of living and would move members up a step every year to reward their loyalty and increase levels of experience. For each of the job titles that the hospital currently has, we have proposed a wage scale. You would find yourself within one of these wage scales, and we would place you on the appropriate spot in the step system. So for instance, a respiratory therapist 2 would fall under job title HO7N and would be placed on that scale. Under our proposal, LPNs and therapists, and techs would be given a 3% increase upon ratification of the contract, and then would be slotted into the nearest step without going backwards. For instance, if your current wage as a surgical tech was $29.64, a 3% increase would bring you to $30.53. You'd be given an additional 35 cents per hour to bring you to step 12. Every year on your anniversary date, you advance one step until you reach step 20. If you were currently on step 3, 29.47, as a vascular tech 1, on your anniversary date, you would move to step 4, 30.26. Every year on the anniversary of the contract ratification, you would advance by 3% and move over one column. If you're an ultrasound tech, on step 5 at 33.26, then in 2016, on the anniversary of the contract ratification, you would move to 34.25. Over the course of time, people's wages would more accurately reflect their skill level and experience, and we will have a system which is much more equitable and just makes sense.